Welcome back, everybody, to Chatting with the Comic Community, the show where we take people from the comic community, bring them on the show, get to know them a little bit better, how they collect, what they read, what they grew up with, whether it be cartoons, movies, TV shows, what have you, everything nerdy in this world. We just want to get to know these people. Now, am I excited for my guest? Am I? Yes, I freaking am. Because this girl is witty. She's a firecracker. She's not to be crossed with, but she has an amazing collection and she's always surprising me with what she's showing next. Also, she's just an all around great person and she has a story to tell. We're going to find out that story right now, right here. So, without further ado, let's bring out my next guest. Let's bring out Lady Van.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Thanks for being here.
Miss
Really
Kitty's
appreciate you.
Miss Kitty's gonna listen in and um, judge us. So sorry.
All right, that's usually what cats do. So I could sit back and be judged, especially from all the viewers at home that are watching, that are excited to see you here, and the viewers that don't know you, or to the people at home that don't know a lot about you. Give them a little bit of rundown of who you are.
Oh man, I am just like another person from the comic community. I am from Middle Tennessee. I've been collecting comics since I was about, I would say, 9, 10. I started reading them around 6, 7. Um, Marvel, make mine Marvel. And I want to say around late 2018, early 2019. It was before COVID. It could have been 2017. Hell, I don't know. No, maybe 2018. Um, I found that there were videos on here of people doing hauls, and I was like, "Oh, that's a thing. People show their comic books on here. Well, that's amazing because I'd been a collector for quite some time and major X-Men fan, and so started making videos, and here I am now."
That's awesome. So like you're kind of that COVID boom where you're like, you know what, I'm going to be on like the COVID boom part of YouTube, but you were collecting way before the COVID boom.
Yeah, and I had a channel before COVID started, so I'm- yeah, I'm certain of it. Yeah, I had a channel before COVID started. So, um, it definitely was a godsend, through the COVID times for sure.
Yeah, it
Um,
really connected a lot of us together. And we're still like, there's a lot of us that kind of fell out of it. But there's still people that are still doing it because they've gotten friendships over the years from just people that they've met throughout this internet YouTube experience.
yeah, there are definitely some people that I like will hit up on the daily or nearly on the daily. I've got a lot of really good, made a lot of really great friendships through here and felt less alone and more connected and realized that there are more people like me that than I had had acknowledged or recognized.
So you say you've been a collector for a long time, huge X-Men fan, and you more lean towards the Marvel side of things rather than DC. Where did that collection start? Did you start reading the stories first, or was it the covers that really got you attached to these comics?
Oh man, I mean, so I first encountered comics is like um I would go during the summer times. I would spend time with my my mom's mom, so my maternal grandmother. I loved going and hanging out at her place, and she lived in a little neighborhood, and there were There was a couple of houses down from us that had a family that they did a lot of yard sales, and there was like a teenage boy that would sell. She sold like his old video games or his old sneakers or you know um clothes, but he also had a stack of Avengers comics that he sold for like 25 cents each. And they were Avengers comics from the 80s and like late 70s, early 80s. And I scooped those up. So like my grandma would give me $1 or two, and I'd go and get 3 or 4, 5, 6 comics, Avengers comics, because the covers to me, whoa, what the hell is this? But then I brought it home and I read them, and it's like this shit's real to me. Like these, galactic conflicts with scrolls and the interactions with Guardians of the Galaxy and all that. That's real to me. You know what I'm saying? And so I took it very seriously because it's the most science or sci-fi that I had ever been exposed to, and I just uh, it opened worlds of possibilities and really uh, was really great for my imagination. It was really great for a young 7, 8 year olds imagination. I mean,
I,
probably. And then, like, only a couple of years later, I'd say I was, like, 10 when the, X-Men cartoon came on, and when that X-Men cartoon came on, I was like, "This is the best shit I've ever seen in my life." And then, like, I had to figure out because it was like based on the comic. And so I went and so a lot of these stories that were the on the cartoons, like Phoenix Saga, um, or they came from the Claremont run. And so I found Claremont X-Men and latched onto that like I mean a mosquito to a fucking flesh. I don't know. Let's drink it up.
was it hard for you to get every issue like from the beginning of Claremont's run onward
Yeah,
at
I
that time?
didn't. Yeah, that's not how I was able to do it at all. I got it piecemeal, and at that time I was also buying volume 2, the Jim Lee stuff off the rack. So I was reading that, I was watching the cartoon, but then I would piecemeal get certain like old Claremont run comics and read them. And because I was very focused on Jean Grey and Kitty Pryde, those were 2 books early on that I would say I had at like age 16. By the time I was like 15 or 16, because I basically when you hit puberty, so me around 14, around that time, you don't want to like admit that you're into comics, but like it's just that me and like my very best friend since the 2nd grade, like he was still into it, and to a level it's still cool because only like a year or so later the X-Men movies came out. And so then I was like, okay, well, it's kind of cool now. And it's okay to reveal myself for what I am. And I remember picking up like X-Men 129 and X-Men 101, and neither one of them being more than $30 each. And this is in late 90s, I'd say. 98, 99, 2000. Yeah.
Yeah, when did the first X-Men did it came
2000,
out that
99 or 2000. Let me see. X-Men movie 2000. So I was a sophomore in 2000. I would have been 15, 16. Okay. So That's right when I said, okay? Because that's when it started. We were finding out like a year before that. So it's like, okay, well, this shit's coming back. It's coming on the screen. We've been wanting this for so long. Technology's finally gotten to a point to where it's going to be realistic, right? Thank Christ. So for me, it was a very exciting time. I was just thrilled. And yeah, I mean, I remember that. Yeah. And because around the same time, the Wolverine Origins had just come out. And that was a really great story. And I remember being quite impressed with it. Um, whatever. And then I say I would in college, for a couple of years in college, I kind of had to I stopped. Well, my roommate in college, she actually ended up being into X-Men too, as well. So I know I went to
Looking out for you.
LSU. Yeah, I went to LSU, Louisiana State University, and she ended up like really loving Gambit, Remy LeBeau, and Rogue, because she was the Southern Belle or whatever. So she loved Gambit and Rogue, and so we clearly clicked really fast, and would always go. We went and saw all like the X-Men movies together, and we saw all like the Matrix movies together. Um, I'm pretty sure we saw a lot of the Lord of the Rings together. So like I it's a lot of cultural shit, but um at around I want to say 2000, and when did I graduate? I graduated in the year 2002 in high school. So I went around 2004, 2005, I got back in to comic card collecting because I saw that the price on all the shit that I had really wanted to collect when I was younger, because I collected comic cards in the 90s. So things like 1996 Marvel Masterpieces and 1995 Marvel Masterpieces, while pricey, were still obtainable. And so I got a couple of sealed boxes of my 1995 Marvel Masterpieces. And if you know, you know, for like a couple, like $200 each. And that like started me on a whole tailspin. Anyways, this is gone. I've talked a lot.
No worries. No worries. We'll definitely go back to those cards in a little bit. But
Mm.
since we're on the topic of X-Men, there is a question. I know that you have such a disdain taste for a certain character of the X-Men, Cyclops. And I'm kind of curious to know why.
So Cyclops has like main character syndrome where it's like if people don't listen to him and do what he says, like he's kind of a bitch about it. And he doesn't he's just really annoying. He doesn't make the right moves, I feel like, in terms of being a leader or even a good fucking boyfriend. It's like you go for Madeline, like he leaves Jean for Madeline, and then he's just a douchebag to me. I don't like him. I don't find his character very compelling. All it is to me is just like all these goddamn Summers brothers. They're like Vulcan and fucking, Havoc or whatever. There's always a new Summers fucking popping up, past, present, future, whatever. You know what I mean? Like Nate. Really, it's just about their genes. I like I don't give a fuck about Cyclops because Cyclops is not a three-dimensional character to me. Like, name a storyline. I can't think of a single storyline where Cyclops to me did anything mildly compelling or had any real, true internal conflict that I could relate to at all. And like, I could relate to like Logan. I could relate to Logan as being like, the ugh, the alternative to Scott, like, but I just feel like there was so much more passion there. I just felt like I just didn't get what Gene saw in Scott because he was such a bona fide beta to me. He's just like the Dudley Do Right, like Mr. Vanilla, fucking. He's boring to me. He's so
That's
boring.
fair.
There's nothing interesting about him.
So, who would you want to lead the X-Men rather than Cyclops?
I don't care, but not him.
Just not him.
Like,
Just
roll
not
the
him.
fucking dice. Don't give a fuck. Not Cyclops. I can give you a list. Not Cyclops. You
So,
know, we've seen a lot of different characters. We've seen Kitty Pryde lead them. We've seen Storm lead them. We've seen, you know, Beast in certain times lead them. I think Bishop, Forge, all there's a lot of different folks that are capable of doing this stuff. Jean Grey, X-Men Red. Um, she's a great leader. So, what Claremont did that I appreciated was that he made dynamic 3D characters that were female, that had agency and interesting backstories. You know what I mean? Like, finally, like, I think, I'm not sure if it was Kelly Sue DeConnick or somebody, but they made this like, uh, I'm not sure if it was like an electric toaster or something, but it's like if you could replace the female with a toaster and the story still be fine, like, you don't actually have a character, you have an object.
that's a pretty good saying.
Yeah, well, Kelly DeSutis Connick is also a fucking badass, like, feminist writer that has gotten her own Eisner Award with this uh, the Amazons, uh,
Oh,
Wonder
Amazon's
Woman.
Attack. Amazon's Attack. Yeah, that's a really good story
She
too.
won with Jimenez, Phil Jimenez, and Kelly Sue DeConnick, work of art. So I don't know.
It's good points. Good points. So going back to okay, so you said you loved when you were growing up, you loved watching the X-Men animated series, and then the X-Men movie came out. Now around that time too, there was the Spider-Man TV show, and also like the Batman animated series, Justice League was coming out. The animated series was coming out at that time, and all of those Batman movies. You
No,
didn't gravitate towards any of those?
fuck no. Mm-mm.
No.
Nope.
That's
Let me give
that's
you a
fair.
list. Cartoons I watched as a kid. Um, like Ninja Turtles. Uh, I just I wasn't super. I watched Gummy Bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. Um, a lot of the Disney tunes I liked quite a bit. Um, uh, I liked Ren and Stimpy a lot. Um, I remember, remember that, Are You Afraid of the Dark? That scary show. And like Erie, Indiana. I mean, a little talk
Oh,
about, you like that show?
I loved Erie,
I
Indiana.
was a kid
Nobody
when
talks about Erie, Indiana anymore.
That's a sleeper. Erie, Indiana was a scary one. Um, let's see. But no, the only kind of animated thing that I did, that and this was like, my mom would probably gotten pissed if she would have known I watched it, but I watched the Spawn cartoon series, and it's only on, because I think my best friend, her older sister was quite a few years older than us, and he had video dub taped them off of HBO, and we watched them. We like when VCRs were a thing. Yeah. So, we watched that, and yeah, that was cool. But I don't think I've ever watched the Spawn movie full thing. I've seen it, like, but I've always, like, changed it because I never gave a fuck.
It was all right. It was all right. It was good for the time. but it's hard to go back and rewatch. Just like most things that were heavy, like early stages of CGI work, like
Yeah, but you have
it's
to
hard to
give
go
it
back and watch some of it.
yeah, but you have to give it a nod for what it did because it's like for us to have what we have now, those movies had to get made. You know what I'm saying? Like they laid the tracks.
We need a new Spawn movie though. We need a new one.
I'm sure collecting with Durs would also second that
Hmm.
opinion.
So I'm just surprised that you didn't gravitate towards anything DC throughout the years.
Well,
Like,
I
is
can
there anything that really captured you throughout the years with DC?
yes, but I wasn't, and it took until college, and that's when I really, it really wasn't DC. It was Vertigo, right? Where I started. I read The Watchmen and I read V for Vendetta, right? So that was my introduction to DC. Um, but well, I was really invested in the amalgam Marvel versus DC thing. And to that extent, I thought that was a great event. But, I always wanted and I bought a lot of those crossovers, like Green Lantern and the Silver Surfer and Superman Hulk. There's a lot of really fun ones. I don't know if is JLA Avengers considered an amalgam thing, or did that come later? But that was fun too.
I think that's I don't know if that's considered part of the Amalgam series, like because I don't know, they're releasing a lot of the Amalgam in omnibus here coming soon,
All
and
right. And
DC versus Marvel and the Amalgam series are going to be in one, and then there's going to be another one with DC versus Marvel, and it's just throughout the years the times that they've crossed over, and they're not even versing each other. I don't know, it's weird, but yeah, I don't know if that series is in that or not, but I would consider it an amalgam between the two.
all right, so I can tell you this is how I explain why somehow I just didn't attach to DC is that when I came up and started reading this material, it was in the early 90s, and the movie Batman and Batman Returns had come out. And I liked both of them, but they were very dark and kind of sinister affects. Okay, it's Tim Burton, and for a young girl that's 7 or 8, that's too dark for me. Like I'm more in like never-ending story, like give me some unicorns kind of thing. Like even though that's a little scary and has its own scary bits, um, so let's focus on what was really the meat of DC's content in the early 90s. It was really like gritty street level Batman from like the Nightfall kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I was a sensitive young little girl from the country, and I liked nature and horses and animals, and I liked the sci-fi kind of stuff. I did not like violence and seeing punches and hurts like that. That's not something that I liked, and that it didn't bring me excitement and joy. The battles and stuff. That's not what rang my bell, if that makes sense.
No, that did. It did make sense. Which,
Yeah.
which is kind of the opposite of what you like today, because you gravitate towards more of the horror side of comics now, liking those horror covers and that. So that it's kind of a flip. I get you though, because like I was a very sheltered kid as well, and I was scared of everything. I was scared of the dark. Did not like a lot of the scary stuff. But now
Yeah.
I like a lot of the weird, obscene kind of stuff. Not like the violent stuff. I'm not like big on the body horror or like the Saw movies or anything like that. But I do like the good mystery or kind of that thriller type of story.
Oh, well, and yeah, so for me now, it's an appreciation of the level of detail and the absolute mastery of some of those covers from Bronze Age DC horror, because you had some legends like Neil Adams and Joe Orlando and Jim Aparo and Nick Cardy and just a host of giants that Bernie Wrightson. Fuck, did I not say him? God. That
I'm surprised. I'm
I was a
surprised.
dick. I'm such an asshole because he's like the granddaddy. No, but you know, um, some of the most iconic horror covers are made by these guys, and I see now as a collector why they're just lovely. They're unique. They're gory, grotesque, but in a way that's just like I like it. Now, that doesn't mean that like my favorite stories are stories that have lots of violence or anything, but like I can deal with suspense, I can deal with mystery, I can deal with grotesque monsters. I mean, fuck, look at Dune, right? Or look at fucking Lord of the Rings. We're bringing it up, but there's a lot of grotesque creatures that exist there that were created by Sauron or Melkor. But yeah, so I just don't like violence, gratuitous violence, the street violence. I don't like hearing punches. I don't like the flaps. I don't like the flash. I don't like the bangs. I don't have the constitution and the sensitivity like to like I'm just not I wasn't built that way. And that's all right. Like
So you did bring it up. You brought up Lord of the Rings. So we're gonna go there towards like some of like the movies, some of the series, because you did bring up earlier that you're into this sci-fi type of things. But then you bring up Lord of the Rings, which is kind of like a fantasy type of story. So is those the stories that you gravitate towards the most, and why?
so I guess I would have to say yes because traditionally those are the books that have taught me the most lessons about humans in a way. Um, uh, well, I will say that, like in college, I really, I took like an honors Western civilization course, and I was forced to read all this shit that I didn't want to, but then ended up being like really appreciative because it's like, oh, okay, so some early Greek philosophers or like playwrights or whatever. And so back then, people that the theater was actually a place for political discourse. And so the plays actually like discuss like the nature of city states and whether or not justice in certain scenarios is actually justice, and how to deal with conflicts of different groups of people with different objectives. It's great. And um how do you create state sanctioned violence, i.e., justice? It's all this kind of crazy stuff. So I really loved that. And then I realized all this shit that they wrote, a lot of mythology, a lot of it had to do with the trajectory of the hero and whatnot. And they had the Iliad and the Odyssey and Virgil's, I don't know, whatever. There was the Aeneid. I think that was Virgil's version. And then there's like Ovid and all kinds of great shit, all kinds of great people that wrote. Uh, there was what's the guy that did the Oresteia? I can't remember, but he also wrote Prometheus Bound, Aeschylus. He was great. So they all tell these tales that a lot of them have to do with a hero struggle, but also wrestling with what justice is. And then it's like, fuck, this is what comics are actually. This is fucking what comics are. So um, I read comics first, ended up realizing like that whole hero struggle is very like Western. It was created at the like in Greece and in Rome, like that's where these stories kind of came from and these sort of ideas. And the United States, when we created these comics, we had our own reasons, and we had our own heroes, and they serve certain purposes. But to the extent that we have expanded the very unique medium that is comic books or whatever. Uh, it's the universe now is infinite. It can be about anything now, right? It can be about, killing Nazis and fighting against Red Skull, but it could also be about, like fucking bitch planet, right? Where uppity bitches are sent because they can't be dealt with. Like, I don't know. This was none other. I just rambled more. I don't even know. I don't think I answered your question.
No,
What were you
I
thinking?
don't think so either. It's what makes you go towards like the Lord of the Rings type of stories and
Oh
these
fuck.
fantasy type of stories. I'm just like sitting here, just like I don't know what she's doing right now, but I'm just gonna let her talk.
World building. Okay, the
World
world
building.
building. But I think that Tolkien is a very specific type of sci-fi, and that's fantasy. Okay, so I think from sci-fi he had a specific niche, which is like kind of the fantasy, because like there wouldn't be like House of Bullshit, whatever the I don't know, not George R. R. Martin, that kind of shit, but to an extent Frank Herbert. Um, anyways, I'm drawn to the mythology, the expanse of it, the level of detail, the cohesiveness, the story. It's the constant struggle between death and deathlessness. We are mortal creatures. Uh, we have to deal with that fact. Um, we are jealous of quote unquote the gods because they have what we would assume is immortality, but the Valar actually envy man, because man, when he dies, goes past and beyond um, the site of Eru, I believe. And so I don't know. Eru is always watching over the gods, but then like they are relegated to Arda, whereas like humans pass out of space and time after their spirit dissipates. And so, it's strange, the jealousy between death and deathlessness, the struggle of the will to dominate and overpower versus attempting to use persuasion and alliances. It reveals a lot about human behavior to me and about different characters, and it teaches you um, just it's just a different world with the same kind of human interactions that we deal with. And maybe because it's in a fantastical setting, it can help us recognize flaws that we all have. I don't know, but maybe amplify it and make it more obvious. But I fucking love it. I eat it up. The epicness of it, the medieval feel, um, just the concept that perhaps the richest of us all are those that um, do the little things and find the little joys in life. Like, you don't have to be Lord of all to be the most powerful, because in Gandalf, he sees in Bilbo and in Frodo um, the minds and souls of beings that on the outside appear so base and simple, and yet are so hardy and have such a pure will that they can beat the greatest of powers of Middle Earth. Like, so there's something to be said about the daily toils and the little pleasures, and those are the people that make things happen, right? And not those that sit on their thrones. And it's really about the appreciation and preservation of nature, our relationships with nature, and not utilizing and like not wasting it, but working in cooperation with. I don't know. He was a fucking hippie. He was a revolutionary. I just loved the way he thought. I loved his ideas and I connected with it.
Now, I know you're a book reader. You've read a lot of books. You're a very knowledgeable person. Uh, you're great with names. Like I don't know anybody else that can name a bunch of artists that they love. What who did what? Oh, you can just look at a cover and know that. A lot of people that wrote a lot of books. Did you read the books first before you watched the movies, or was it vice versa?
Yeah, so for me, I as a kid, um, before I could read, so I don't know, like I was like 5 or 6. I mean, I could like read like fucking little sentences. I'm gonna read The Hobbit. So like two things. My dad, when he was like, I guess in his late teens, early 20s, that's when The Hobbit, the actual animated Bakshi um, movie, or that was Bakshi didn't do that. That ended up being Rankin Bass, I think. Anyways, there was a Bakshi did fucking The Lord of the Rings. Anyway, there was a Hobbit one that came out, and it was a cartoon Hobbit, and he had seen that, and then like he as when after they had me and I was a kid, he got that, and he would show that video to me, but also he got it on cassette tape. So I would always rent The Hobbit, to watch it, but he got The Hobbit on cassette tape because a lot of it's really complex. You can't read those words. You don't know what the fuck it meant. And so we would listen to it together, and he would explain what certain things meant to me. And then as I got older, then I ended up consuming things like Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. And then I got older and I read Lord of the Rings. And then the movies came out. And then after the movies, I hadn't read the Silmarillion. And so after I'd seen all the Jackson movies, I went and read the Silmarillion, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" I got even like more nerded out about it. It's a thing,
And so
and
there's a lot more books than just the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. You're saying
oh
there's
my
more
fuck,
attached to
yeah,
it.
yeah, and
I did
like,
not know that.
oh yeah, Silmarillion's actually by Christopher Tolkien, but it's based on his father's writings, and he like basically pieced it together posthumously after Tolkien died in 73. I want to say, or something like that. And then there are other books that are out now that have been put out by Christopher Tolkien, and also scholars. There are Tolkien scholars out there, like Shipley is one guy's name, and then other people. But yeah, there's a lot. That's so fucking great. But the
Yeah.
Silmarillion is like the Bible. So it talks about the creation of all of the gods and the main god that exists, and how Middle Earth was created, and the year of the trees, and the first age through the third age. Well, it's great.
Now, the way that you're talking in that, do you read a lot of Neil Gaiman by chance? Because a lot of Neil Gaiman's books are a lot like that, like a lot of the mythology of certain things, and he goes in depth, like you're going in depth with speaking about certain uh, books and stories that you love.
Mm-mm, I haven't.
That is surprising. I think you would really, really enjoy a lot of Neil Gaiman's books.
I mean, just a second. What specific? All I know really is like Sandman.
There's this what was it, Norse mythology book that
Yeah,
he
I
did.
bought that. And I read some of it, and it was just like, eh. I got the first
No,
couple issues, and I was like, eh.
it's not your style.
Maybe I need to just like get a trade and read it in one chunk, because that's one thing. Admittedly, I digest stories better if I have all of it. Like, it's hard for me to do an issue, read it, and then wait another week. I prefer to just get them all and read them. And I definitely didn't give it that chance. I got like the first couple of issues, and it was just like,
You know what? I do agree with you at that part because like I do read every week, but I felt a lot more joy out of Superboy. Man of Tomorrow was a book that came out last year by Kenny Porter, and I read it all at once, and it was just 5 issues, and I enjoyed it. Like, because like I was able to consume it all in one. So that might be a great idea, just to just consume things all in one rather than weekly. But I do a weekly show with Mark Legion of Comics reviewing comics, so I don't think that'll work for me.
For me, like, it's just more cohesive. Like, I can digest a story and have a better memory if it's all one chunk. Because it's like, if you expect me to read 5 or 6 different books a week and then go to the next week and read another of each title, they all inevitably start entangling for me. They twist together. And so what I prefer to do is just, like, chunk it, one storyline, go to a new title, chunk that storyline, and so on and so forth. But that's how my brain works.
So are you reading current comics today? Like, are you picking up anything currently? Also, are you where was it? Did you stop reading X-Men or did you continue through the Krakoa era?
Pox.
You did? Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped after House of X, Powers of X. I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people that were like the core people that grew up with the X-Men comics and that in the 80s and 90s and that and coming into this new era of Hoxpox, they were like, yeah, this is not my X-Men. I'm gonna drop off right now.
No, but it's
So
not to say that it's bad or that other. Because see, I sit here and watch like John comics with kids and Fantastic and stuff. People love it. They still like and they're there for it, and I'm so glad for that. I'm just one person who has an obstinate personality whose mind will irrevocably be stuck in the Claremont was the best era. And perhaps that's to my detriment, but I did the Hickman taste and it wasn't shitty. It was like, okay, this is fun, but it's like it's just doesn't feel like home to me. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it.
that's that's fair. I yeah, like I said, I hear a lot of people saying they're just it's just not for them. But they are ending it coming soon. They're gonna stop the whole Krakoa era. The Krakoa era is coming to an end very, very soon. Will you jump back into the X-Men once it ends?
Depends on where they're fucking around at now because like I need to have some like expansion shit. You know what I mean? Like y'all need to get back to your basics. Get your asses back on earth and quit dicking around. But this is probably going to cause you to get shadow banned because I do curse quite a bit.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Um, so is there anything current that you're reading or that you're enjoying?
So I'm not purchasing current books right now. Well, I mean, yeah, not really getting purchasing current books. So I'm just working on old runs and um been reading certain just old books here and there. So, yeah. I've been I've recently gotten some of the romance DC 70s romance stuff and also some like Lois Lane stuff, and those are just like pretty hokey and funny. I have a good time with that. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think. What I just read something recently. I can't even remember what issue it was, but I just sat down with a book and read through it. I don't know. I got nothing.
I I
Oh,
feel like I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole with Lois Lane covers now. Now that I got that one, like they're great. They're great. I don't need them in good condition. They're just great to have. I never thought in a million years that I'd be like, you know what? I think I'm gonna start picking up old Lois Lane
you
comics.
know which one you need the most?
What's that?
Issue 70. Look it up. Do you know what the
Uh,
significance of it is?
I do not.
I want to say it's the first Silver Age Catwoman. Let me just make sure. I could be wrong, but
And that might be actually going for a good price dollar though. Then if it's the first Catwoman.
pretty penny. Yeah.
So,
1966, first Silver Age Catwoman. Meow.
what's it going for?
One in decent shape is going for, I mean, 300.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Um, that just means you got to find a deal. Let me see if I can go to private chat and just stick it in there. Boom. Longest link ever. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I'd rather go for something else. I will be coming in acquiring a good key here soon. Female first appearance in DC Comics, thanks to Beckerman. Shout out Beckerman. Stay tuned for that. But I'm looking forward to that. But is there anything else that you're collecting wise that you're going after? Since you're not really picking up comics on a weekly basis, is there anything that you're saving up for that you really want to
I'm picking
obtain?
up comics on a weekly basis. They're just not new NCBDs. So I'm, I'm always piecing something together. Recently, I just got my very first pre-code horror book, um, which was a Ghost Rider #8 from 1952, Dick Ayers. So that was very exciting. I think I've gotten bit by the by the golden age bug, and also just slowly like piecing together like certain things. I think from Yahweh I'm going to pick up some Fantastic Fours. um I don't really know right now. I'm kind of in a weird place where it's just like I don't know. uh, I know I want to get rid of a lot of my stuff because I just don't need it. And I know that, like, if I woke up without it, I would be totally fine without it. And there's only like really a few things where it's like, if I woke up and I didn't have it, I'd be fucking bummed. So I know that I have both in my collection, but I would be on, if I'm being honest, I would say probably 60% of my collection, if it were gone tomorrow, I'd be fine.
That's
Which means
surprising.
well, it's just I guess you change, things change over time, and the way you feel changes over time, and what you value changes over time. And I would certainly say that my strategy as a collector, what I value as a collector, what I find novel as a collector, what engages me in a collector now is certainly not the same as when I was a youngin'. But it's no less exciting. It's just as exciting, right? And I still get a thrill. Um, for me, the most exciting thing, and it will always be the most exciting thing, is going to cheap bins and thumbing through. And if you know the books, and if you you can always find something, and that's what the fun of it is. When some of the funnest things is I learn what my friends like, and I find things for them, and I assimilate little packages, and it's like that is fucking gratifying. I like doing that. You know, doesn't necessarily mean I have to be, reading a new content every week. I could stick to my old fucking. Now I have Avengers like issues 90 something through 258. And so it's like it's cool, but I'm not sure what
Yeah,
I want to do. And it's always going to be changing. And I think if it's not changing, then there's an issue, right? You should change is good because that's the only constant.
change is good. Change is definitely good. And there's nothing against anybody that just decides, you know what, I'm not reading current comics, but I still collect comics. I still like comics in that. Um, to keep people away from just being like, oh no, you don't read comics, weekly comics, you're not into comics at all. That's
Dude,
that's
I don't give
that's
a
not
fuck
right.
about, judge me.
Mm,
Fucking judge me, call me what you want. Like, I don't give two diddlies, Like, I don't do this, and I'm not here because I care that somebody's gonna say I read my books or I don't read my books. I don't read some of them. I do read some of them.
Yeah.
Moving right along, like every other fucking collector. Whatever.
Now, and what surprises me, I mentioned it earlier, like how you can look at a comic and there's a few other people that can do that that are really really good at that, just looking at a cover and determining who the artist is on that cover. It fascinates me to every time that you could just look at that and like I can't do that. I admire people that can. So you go out, is there people that you look for on a daily, like you say, you go out and you get comics on a day on a weekly basis. Maybe it's not for the new comic book day books, but it's the old good
Mhm.
bronze or silver age books.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
is there ones that you really want to grab the most?
Um, well, it's more of what is there at any given time and what are the prices on things. Um, because even though I might not be like the biggest McFarlane fan, if I find McFarlane ASM Spideys in nice shape for a low price, I'm going to get them because they are nice pieces of work and they have a lot of resale value. Same with any of the McFarlane Hulks, which I own some of those because I'm a Hulk fan, right? Um, anything, when I love certain Bronze Age artists, Gil Kane, Bernie Wrightson, let's see, there's a lot of them. Herb Trimpe, Marie Severin, um, Milgram, Cockrum, fucking Austin, just Burn. Shit, there's just so many great, and I'm leaving a lot of them out, and I feel like a dick. Gene Colan, fucking, a lot of, Neil Adams, clearly, I'm avoiding a lot of the DC side. I'm trying to do Plug shit. You know, I have an appreciation for a vast array of art. I would say that my mind is probably slightly photographic. That I just have a very good visual memory. And so uh especially with a title that I love and am so familiar with, it gets to the level of like stupid idiot savant level with the X-Men, where I don't know why I know, I just fucking know. And it's because I've exposed myself to it for so goddamn long and I just have a problem. Anything else, it's like, eh. But for me, you can recognize by style. Kirby, oh shit, I didn't even say Jack Kirby. I'm such a dick. But like, it's if you have enough different like portfolios of people's work, you recognize how they do certain things. And then it's like it starts becoming more obvious. And it's not always obvious, but for people, certain people like Kirby, it's almost like a dead giveaway with his stuff. You can just tell. Um, I'd say who else is a dead giveaway? A lot of times for me, and it wasn't always true because when he first started, he was very traditional, the modern way, is Bill Sienkiewicz. But now I can generally pick out his stuff because he puts his own, he has his own format of art. Mm, I'm not even sure if that answered the question, but I just like what I like.
That's a good answer. You just like what you like. Can't explain it. Um, I you did answer the question though. And by the sounds of it, you do gravitate towards more of the Bronze Age
Yeah.
type of creators, Bronze and Silver
Yeah.
Age artists.
Yeah, so with the Bronze Age, you get the advent of more kind of hyper realistic, and really with that's when the horror, and I didn't name a lot, but I did earlier some of the artists on the DC side, but I'm just the way that they saw the human body was great, and I think in the Bronze Age with some of the Marvel artists, there were some great Ramita Jr. Basima, There's just so many Starlin, like just so many great creators out there that um I loved seeing their work. Barry Windsor Smith, I feel like a dick leaving it. I just keep on thinking more people, and I feel like a jerk for Bob Layton. Fuck. So yeah, you just know there's so many greats. And I'm sorry I'm sorry, gods, for leaving you out. I know I did. Um, shit. Yeah,
That's all right. I think they'll forgive you because you named off like a whole lot
not
right
enough.
there. I
So
don't
many
even
that
know
don't get
how
their
many.
just desserts. But, anyways,
That is definitely true. So, kind of ending it off here with this question. I got one more after this though.
Kaluta, Chaikin. Fuck. Sorry.
So, you being a huge X-Men fan, are you excited for what they have planned or what we know of, like with Deadpool 3 coming, X-Men 97 coming? Are you excited for the X-Men finally making an appearance in the MCU?
Yes, but I don't have any expectations. I'm excited to see what they bring, but that doesn't mean that I know if it's going to be good or not. But I'm
That's a
excited.
fair answer.
Just
That's a
like
fair
when you get
answer.
ready to go play a game, for me, it's like, do I know if I'm going to win or lose? No, but I'm ready to play. I'm ready for the experience.
That's a fair answer. I'm excited for Deadpool 3. Will it cross over that much later on in the MCU? Who knows? But the Deadpool 3 trailer looks fantastic, and I do believe, I'm saying it here right now, it's going to cross a billion. If not, it's going to go over a billion.
All I know is that
I guarantee you.
if they're smart, they better get Jackman and Reynolds on the same screen at the same time, because their chemistry is just unmatched, and that's what I will pay my money for, is to see them on the screen at the same time.
Oh, we'll definitely see that.
So
We'll
they're because
definitely
they're
see that.
both great. Yeah.
Well, Lady F, I do got one more question after this, but I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and sitting down here and talking a little bit about yourself and getting to know you a little bit more. Hopefully, the people at home got to know you a little bit more. And to them, make sure to hit that like button. Go down in the description below and go follow Lady Fantastic on Instagram. Go subscribe to her on YouTube. The links are both down below. And I just want to say thank you again, Lady F. Final question is, what is one story, like a complete story, or it could be a book or a comic, that you urge everybody to go out and read?
Damn it. God Loves, Man Kills, by Chris Claremont, graphic novel, X-Men. That is it's a tale that can transcend a lot of different scenarios, but ultimately it's about um, how sometimes like idealistic dogma can get in the way of seeing people for what they really are, and that is humans just like you and me. And we have to um, get past our ideologies and recognize that at the end of the day, all we have is one another. Um, yeah.
Can you name that story again? It
Uh,
was
God loves, man kills.
God Loves Man Kills. When did that come out?
In the 80s. It's Chris Claremont. It's an X-Men graphic novel, and it's probably one of the best stories in comics, in my opinion.
All
But,
right.
I'm biased.
Well, if you're an X-Men fan, that's definitely a story you guys should be reading. Coming from a true X-Men fan sitting right here beside me. I'm not that big of an X-Men fan. I watched the cartoon, I watched the movies, and never read a comic. So that may be a comic that I might actually read at one point, maybe.
Probably find it online. It's a graphic novel, and wow, it's a really it's all I can say is give it a shot.
You heard her. Give it a shot, guys, and also give her a shot. Go follow her on Instagram and go subscribe to her on YouTube. Doing great things over there. A lot of showing off great comics over on her channel. I was over there a couple of times already, and had some great times just showing off what's in our collection. That's it. That's all we were doing, and we had a great freaking time doing it.
We need to do it
It's
again
definitely
soon. Need to arrange that because I love doing that. For me, that's all. It's what it's all about is having a bunch of different people together that have a bunch of different tastes, and we show a bunch of different books, and we can learn like a potpourri of comic bullshit. Like I thrive off that, man. Gets my rocks off.
all right. And if that gets your rocks off, definitely go subscribe to her. That being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this, and thank you again, Lady F, for being my guest. Hopefully, you guys have an amazing day, evening, night, wherever you are in this amazing world. And as always, my friends, stay freaking